Okay, so we're going to be looking at example number 8, and we'll notice first of all in the instructions that we want to solve each equation. Now we know that from earlier in this section, solve means to go find out what the variable is. This particular example says solve for the specified variable. So for the first question that we have here, we're going to be solving for r. So ask yourself, what's happening to the r right at this moment? Well, hopefully you answered that my r is being squared. And then I would ask next, well, after your r gets squared, what's happening next? And I'm hoping that you would answer it's being multiplied. It's being multiplied by an h, it's being multiplied by a pi, and it's being multiplied by a 1/3. So what we're going to do is we want to get rid of the multiplication, and we know that we do that by division. So I'm going to divide by the 1/3. I'm going to divide by the pi. I'm going to divide by the h. For now, I'm going to break this into 2 steps. The first thing I'm going to do is divide by the pi and the h. So let's take a look at what that would look like. So if I divide both sides by pi and h, notice that the pi's over here on this side will cancel, and so will the h's. So when you think about what you have remaining then, all you have is a 1/3 r squared. And over on the left side, you've got a v divided by pi h. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is we want to get rid of the 1/3. Well, we know that we can divide by 1/3, but remember that dividing by 1/3 is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. It's the same thing as multiplying by 3. So what we'll do is we will multiply by a 3 on both sides, or technically a 3/1. And what we find is that our 3's and our 1's on the right side, they're going to cancel each other out. And over on the left side, we'll just go ahead and multiply those. And so we'll have a 3v divided by a pi h is equal to an r squared. Now we know how to get rid of a square. We know that we're going to take the square root of both sides, and we're not going to forget our pos neg on that. So I already have here that the square root of r squared is equal to an r. And then the next thing that we need to do is we need to get rid of that square root in the denominator. So I uncovered that just a little bit too fast maybe, but the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to multiply by the square root of the bottom divided by the square root of the bottom. This is legal because it's just the number 1, and we all know that when we multiply by the number 1, we're not changing anything. So at this point, remember that rule that we had from section 1.3 that said we're allowed to multiply insides times insides? And so that's what we're going to do. Up on top, we're going to multiply insides times insides, and we're going to leave it in the inside. Don't forget your plus minus. And then down on the bottom, square root of pi h times the square root of pi h. That's like, I have 2 pi h's. I have a pi h, that whole thing squared. So squares and square roots undo each other, leaving me with just a plain and simple pi h with no square root. And this then would be my simplified version of r.